Hello, my name's Joel. I've been asked by Ian at the Hullabaloo to do you a presentation on Biosphere, the Isle of Wight, Biosphere Reserve. The reason we're doing this is on the 19th of June we will have had the Isle of Wight Biosphere Reserve for a full 12 months. It's our first birthday. Woohoo! And so this presentation really is just to talk about how we got there, a bit about what Biosphere is, and a bit about what happens next. So the first thing to say really is a big thank you very much to the guys at Hullabaloo for putting together a great day and a series of days celebrating all that's wonderful about the Isle of Wight. So where do we come from? In 2016, I don't know if you remember, but in 2016 there was a vote. It was a referendum and we decided to leave the European Union. Now, the Isle of Wight is a rather special place in that we've got lots and lots of designations across the island for its high quality of wildlife and landscape. And one of the big worries that came out of the referendum result was that some of the best wildlife designated areas across the island they might not have their protection anymore. So, three wise men decided that we should investigate biosphere status. And on the back of that, I was asked, along with Richard Grogan, to go and see if we could find out what biosphere status would mean for the Isle of Wight and what we would need to do to get there. And to give you an idea of how exciting this truly is, biosphere status is run by UNESCO, which is the United Nations. It's the same guys that come together to try and form peacekeeping groups to go into places of war zones, places of famine, all that sort of stuff. And it's the same group of guys that also look after World Heritage Sites, which are part of UNESCO, and geoparks as well. So becoming a biosphere is quite an exciting, there's quite an awful lot of gravitas, shall we say, that goes with becoming a biosphere. So we were quite excited. Now, at the very, very beginning, the first thing people asked us is, what is a biosphere? Well, okay. Is it a giant glass dome that's going to be put over the Isle of Wight? Well, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be in the Simpsons movie. The next thing would be, well, surely it's getting a whole series of biomes put on, just like at the Eden Project. And again, it's as wonderful as Eden Project is, we're not getting an Eden Project on the Isle of Wight yet, or if at all. And becoming a biosphere is certainly not having biomes put over, across the island. What Biosphere Reserve means is that on the Isle of Wight we have a pretty good mix of lots of people living here, and we've got 140,000 people living here, so a good mix of lots and lots of people living in a space, but at the same time we are doing a good job at looking after our wildlife and our landscapes and our local seas. So we have sort of created a balance, if you like, of meeting the needs of the people that live and work in and on the Isle of Wight, at the same time meeting the needs of the wildlife on the Isle of Wight. And Biosphere Status is very much a celebration, a well done, if you like, of having achieved that. So, to give you an idea, I've chosen a few other island biospheres as examples of biospheres that are meeting the needs of both their population and their local wildlife. And the first is Madagascar, where indigenous people are effectively fishing sustainably and creating tourism sustainably. The next is the Lanzarote Biosphere. So this is Timanfaya, which is a volcano at the south of the island, and its surrounding area. And again, this is an exciting place. It's a bizarre moonscape almost, but it's got a wonderful ecology, an indigenous ecology. It's also got a still active volcano, which is a tourist attraction and brings people to come and see this fantastic landscape. And the third of my examples is the Maldives, which in my mind, and if this is a prejudice indeed, but in my mind, if you're looking for archetypal tropical paradises. The Maldives comes up trumps time and time again, really. And so with the case of the Maldives, they've managed to find a way of meeting the needs of the tourists that come out and enjoy this fantastic climate and the ecology and the experience and that goes with it. But at the same time, having high quality hotels and looking after the wildlife that's in that area. And then you sort of think about the Isle of Wight, and you think about an August bank holiday on Sandown Beach, and you think, what, the Isle of Wight? How do we compare to the Maldives? Honestly? Really? And then you really take a step back and you think about, actually, the Isle of Wight is southern Britain in miniature. We've got a little bit of everything of South Britain. We've got fantastic short downlands, we've got fantastic beaches, we've got fantastic woodlands. And these are all because people over generations have been custodians of their landscapes. They've worked hard. So this isn't the stuff that local conservation organisations and the local authority have done this week. This is stuff that's taken generations to work really well. And so, as a case example, our woodlands, because we don't have any deer on the Isle of Wight, not any wild deer anyway, it's a case of we have a woodland that is somewhat unique in Britain, in that we have no large herbivores grazing a lot of the understory and the trees. And so actually we have flourishing woodlands on the Isle of Wight. But most of the Isle of Wight isn't wild, it's managed in some way or another, and most of that management is done through farming. And actually the farms on the Isle of Wight are very, very sensitively done by and large. And it's a case example, that, again, that we are meeting the needs of the population, we're farming this landscape, at the same time we're also meeting the needs of hedgerow species, birds and flora and insects, all this sort of stuff. So we really should celebrate the fact that the Isle of Wight has a fantastic ecology. We've got a fantastic population of people looking after their island. And on top of that, we have fantastic cultural heritage as well. I mean, you just have to go and think of places like Carriageford Castle or Osborne House and see that we've got a long legacy on the Isle of Wight of all sorts of fantastic things happening over a long, long, long period of time. Now, moving on to the Biosphere Reserve itself. Again, we're not getting this great big bubble put over the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight Biosphere Reserve is the Isle of Wight and its surrounding seas. And by that I mean it's all of the landmass of the island to about a mile and a bit out to sea in the areas that are of high conservation value, like the marine conservation zones. And we are one of only 7 biosphere reserves in Britain itself. And here's a map for some of the other ones. So, that's where we came from, that's what we are. Where are we going to go? Now, one of the big parts of being a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve is that we're trying to build peace in the hearts and minds of men and women, I should say. Sorry. And with that in mind, there are a whole series of different things that could influence peace. And these are called the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And they're everything from trying to get rid of poverty, through to trying to get gender equality, through to trying to make sure that you've got clean water, enough food, high quality education, and good health and well-being, amongst other things. And what we're looking at now is how we start to think about delivering on the Sustainable Development Goals over the next 10 years, give or take. And this is a big ask, to be honest with you, because it could be everything from making sure that the Isle of Wight recycles well, or that in working with Southern Water, that the high quality water gets better, working with landowners, we reduce the amount of pollution going into the waters. There's all sorts of things that we could be doing, and we are doing. But it's a case of all of us are involved in this in the Isle of Wight, and so we all need to do our little bit. So what we're thinking of doing in the short term, and possibly the longer term, is a whole series of actions that you can do at home to try and play your part in making sure that the Isle of Wight is a special place. And you can find out about these on our website, or through Facebook and Twitter, or those sorts of jobbers. But we've got 10 things, and by and large, they're sensible things. It's recycling. It's trying to use things for as long as they can be used before going and buying stuff again. It's trying to think about how you use your water at home. One of the big things that's has been a constant concern for the better part of 30 years is climate change, and how can you do your bit? Well, planting trees is a good example of doing your bit for helping improve our response to climate change. And there's lots more. Go and find out about it. But on top of that, one of the things that I really want to know about is what do you think about the biosphere? Where are the good bits? What are the good bits? What are we doing well? What could we improve upon? And with that in mind, I would really be grateful if over time you guys start sending in to the Isle of Wight Biosphere Partnership videos, podcasts, thoughts, film, pictures. I don't mind. I don't care. I want to know what you're doing, because ultimately I've got to talk to UNESCO and say this is the Isle of Wight response to climate change, or to species loss, or to meeting recycling targets, or to making sure that people are well fed, or there's good education, and all this sort of stuff. So basically what I'm trying to say is that with this fantastic achievement that the Isle of Wight has done, and it is an Isle of Wight wide achievement, it's not something that we've done at the AONB on our own, or that conservationists have done, or that the local council have done. This is very much we together as the people of the Isle of Wight have achieved. And with that comes a great responsibility, because UNESCO, United Nations, are using us as one of 700 flagship places across the whole wide world to make a difference in the world. So with great power comes great responsibility. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this short presentation. Get in contact with us. We'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.